Let's be honest, not with the market, not with the charts, not with the mentors on a screen, but with the quiet part of the mind that already knows what happened. There was never a shortage of effort. There was never a shortage of trying. There was never a shortage of late nights, weekend backtesting, new tabs open, new explanations, new frameworks, new promises wrapped in clean thumbnails and confident voices. And for a while, it always felt real, because hope is a powerful drug when it's mixed with technical language. And a man can mistake excitement for certainty, and momentum for mastery, and urgency for destiny. So the cycle begins the same way almost every time, with the same internal script, the same private sentence that sounds like progress. This is the one. And some men don't even say it out loud because they don't want to jinx it. They just feel it in their body, in the way they sit forward, the way they stop sleeping properly, the way they start imagining outcomes before the work has earned them, the way they start counting the money before the discipline exists, the way they start building a future on top of an identity that still collapses under pressure. They commit 3 months, sometimes 6, sometimes longer, and they follow the plan until the first real drawdown arrives, until the first string of losses arrives, until the first moment comes where the market doesn't reward obedience. And that's when the truth surfaces. Not about the strategy, but about the man holding it, because the market has a way of forcing the nervous system to speak. He tightens stops. He moves targets. He hesitates. He takes trades early. He takes trades late. He watches the P&L like it's a heartbeat monitor. He refreshes the chart like he can change what already printed. He misses a setup and then chases the next one like he's trying to recover dignity. He knows what he's doing. He knows he's breaking his own rules, and still he does it, and that's the part that stings. Because it's not ignorance, it's self-betrayal, and self-betrayal is always louder than a loss. Then the conclusion arrives like it always does. It's the strategy. And that conclusion feels merciful because it protects the ego from the only question that matters, the question most men avoid for years because it's heavy and it's clean and it doesn't negotiate. Who is the man pressing the button? Some men move through life with a different internal posture, and it's hard to explain to people who live on stimulation because this posture doesn't look like ambition from the outside. It looks like restraint. It looks like boredom. It looks like calm. It looks like a refusal to chase. And most people mistake refusal to chase for lack of hunger because they've never met hunger with discipline. This unnamed way is not about being intense. It's about being governed. It's about the ability to hold still while the world moves, to remain unprovoked while everything is trying to provoke, to sit inside uncertainty without filling the space with compulsive action, to let timing reveal itself instead of trying to force timing into existence with impatience disguised as confidence. The Stoics never worshipped outcomes because they understood outcomes are not fully owned, but character is. And a man can lose money and still keep his spine. But once he loses his spine, he starts doing strange things for small relief, and he starts calling it strategy. This is where the separation appears, not as an insult, not as a flex, just as reality, because two types of men exist in every arena where pressure is real. There are reactors and there are waiters. Reactors are not bad. They're simply governed by sensation, by fear, by hunger, by the need to do something so they can feel alive, so they can feel in control, so they can feel like the future is being handled. And when they don't act, they don't feel calm. They feel exposed because stillness forces them to feel what they've been outrunning. Waiters move differently, not because they're superior, but because they have a different relationship with discomfort. And discomfort is the true tuition of trading, not information, not charts, not setups, but discomfort, the discomfort of waiting, the discomfort of being wrong, the discomfort of watching a move happen without you and not turning that into revenge, the discomfort of not making something happen today and letting that be normal, letting that be clean. Most men think the difference between these two types is knowledge. It isn't. It's identity, it's nervous system. It's the quiet internal standard that decides what a man tolerates from himself when no one is watching. And this is where trading stops being a money game and becomes a mirror, because the market doesn't just test your entries, it tests your attachment, It tests your need. It tests your ability to accept uncertainty without trying to dominate it. It tests the part of you that believes you are either worthy or unworthy, capable or incapable, disciplined or undisciplined, and every candle becomes a vote. A man can go through every course, every mentor, every method, every version of CLS, and still repeat the same pattern, because the pattern was never on the chart, it was inside him, and the chart simply gave it a place to show itself. He keeps searching for a loophole, because the ego loves loopholes. The ego loves shortcuts. The ego loves the fantasy that there is a secret path where pain is optional and mastery is immediate. And it doesn't matter if that fantasy shows up as a new indicator, a new bot, a new system, a new edge, a new way to outsmart the market, because the costume changes but the hunger stays the same, and hunger without discipline always becomes self-destruction. So the years pass, and the man becomes experienced at starting over, experienced at feeling hope, experienced at buying belief for a few weeks, experienced at excitement, experienced at breakthrough energy, and inexperienced at the one thing that actually matters, which is staying the same long enough to become someone new. Because nothing changes until the man changes. Not the man's intentions, not the man's plans, not the man's words. The man himself, the identity that shows up when the market moves against him, the identity that shows up when he's up and wants to press harder, the identity that shows up when he's down and wants to take it back immediately, the identity that shows up when he's bored and wants action more than he wants precision. This is the part most people avoid saying plainly, because it removes the comfort of blaming the method and it puts the spotlight where it belongs, on the operator. Some men don't like that word, operator, because it feels serious, and seriousness is uncomfortable when the inside is chaotic. But trading is serious, not because it's life and death, but because it exposes the part of you that lies to you. And once you see that part clearly, it becomes hard to respect your own excuses. A consistent trader, the kind that lasts, the kind that doesn't need to constantly reinvent himself, doesn't look like a genius. He looks like a man with a stable interior. He looks like someone who has been humbled enough times to stop performing confidence and start building it, quietly through repetition, through routine, through standards that don't change based on mood. He doesn't open the charts like a gambler looking for dopamine. He opens the charts like a hunter entering a familiar terrain, already knowing that the first scan isn't price, it's himself, because the mind is the first market. And if the mind is volatile, everything downstream becomes reactive. He can feel his own internal weather, not as a spiritual concept, but as a practical one. Because a man who can't detect his own agitation will call agitation intuition. And a man who can't detect his own fear will call fear risk management. And a man who can't detect his own greed will call greed confidence. And he will sound intelligent while he destroys himself. This is why strategy hopping becomes such an addiction, because it lets a man keep the illusion that the problem is external, that the solution is just one more video away, one more method away, one more tweak away. And as long as the solution is outside him, he never has to face the truth that the thing collapsing him is not the chart. It's the part of him that cannot tolerate uncertainty without self-sabotage. Some people will hear that and feel a sting, because the sting is recognition. And recognition always arrives before change, not as motivation, but as a quiet loss of patience with the old self. If that recognition is landing, comment, hunter, not as a performance, just as a marker that something in you understands what's being described. The hunter mentality is not aggression, it's restraint. It's the ability to wait longer than the impulse can tolerate. It's the ability to let price come to you instead of chasing price like you're begging the market to include you. It's the ability to be selective, not because you're scared, but because you're not needy, and neediness is what makes a man violate his own rules while explaining it like it was reasonable. A hunter doesn't take every shot. A hunter watches, reads, assesses, and when the conditions align, the action is simple, clean, almost boring, because the work was done before the moment arrived. That's the part most people don't respect. The before, the preparation, the repetition, the refusal to constantly change the rules because changing the rules gives the ego temporary relief from responsibility. In Stoic terms, the hunter-trader is a man who understands what belongs to him and what does not. And he doesn't waste emotion on what doesn't belong to him, because wasting emotion is still waste, even when it looks like passion. He understands that the market's movement is not his to command. He understands that outcomes are not his to demand. He understands that the only true edge he owns is his ability to execute the same way, in calm and in pressure, in wins and in losses, in boredom and in excitement. And this is where identity becomes the real strategy, because a man can be given a perfect plan and still ruin it if the inside is unstable. And it's not because he's stupid, it's because his nervous system is driving, and the nervous system doesn't care about logic when it's in threat mode. It cares about relief, and relief makes a man do desperate things while telling himself a smart story about why he did them. So the real work becomes obvious to certain men as 2026 approaches. Not as a motivational slogan, but as a quiet decision. The work is becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to be rescued by a new method. The work is becoming the kind of person who can hold one simple approach, one CLS, long enough to build trust with himself. Because trust with self is what removes hesitation, and hesitation is what creates late entries, early entries, chasing, overtrading, revenge trading, and all the familiar damage that a man pretends is just part of the process until he finally admits it is a character problem, not a technical one. Discipline in this world is not effort, it's identity. It's not white-knuckling your way through a rule set while you secretly resent it. It's the calm lifestyle of a man who repeats what works until it becomes automatic, until the mind stops negotiating, until the body stops seeking adrenaline, until boredom becomes safe. The best routines look unimpressive. Same wake time, same preparation, same review, same execution window, same refusal to stare at the P&L like it's a mirror of worth, same willingness to do nothing on days where nothing is present, same ability to walk away without needing closure. And in a culture that worships stimulation, that kind of boredom is sacred because it's not emptiness, it's control. It's a nervous system that no longer needs chaos to feel alive. A man like this doesn't talk about being disciplined all day. He simply becomes predictable to himself. And that predictability is the foundation of power because the market can't manipulate a man who is not emotionally negotiable. He can still lose. He can still be wrong. He can still have drawdowns, but he doesn't collapse because his identity is not built on being right. It's built on being consistent, and consistency survives temporary failure. Some men chase the feeling of certainty. The hunter trades without needing it. Some men wait for confidence to arrive. The hunter executes because the process is clear, and clarity doesn't require emotion. Some men call this cold. It isn't. It's clean. It's a man refusing to let the lowest part of his brain make financial decisions. And there's a strange moment that happens when this becomes real, not as a concept, but as a lived posture, because a man starts to notice the old impulses before they become actions. He starts to see the urge to click as simply an urge, not a command. And once a man sees that, he doesn't unsee it. The old loop starts to feel obvious. The strategy hopping starts to feel childish. The late-night excitement about a new method starts to feel like a red flag, not a breakthrough. The need to win it back starts to feel like a trap, not a mission. The obsession with the chart starts to feel like anxiety wearing a technical mask. And quietly, without ceremony, some paths close behind him. Not because he forced himself to change, because he finally got tired of being the same. If this is resonating, comment Hunter and keep it simple, because simple is the whole point, and the men who understand this don't need speeches, they need alignment. There are people who will hear this and immediately feel the difference between chasing and waiting, between reacting and operating, between needing and choosing, and that recognition is enough because recognition is the first form of discipline. It's the moment a man stops pretending he doesn't see himself. And once that happens, the next year stops being a calendar goal and becomes an identity line, not a promise, a line. After this, it's hard to move the old way without feeling the cost. After this, it's hard to blame the market for what your nervous system did. After this, it's hard to keep buying new solutions when you know the solution is becoming someone who can hold still. If this hit clean, like it touched something you've known for a long time but never stated out loud, comment Hunter. And if you want more of this kind of calm, stoic, hunter-minded trading psychology, you can like the video and subscribe, not as a pledge, not as a badge, just so you don't lose the thread the next time the noise gets loud. Because the noise always gets loud, and some men quietly stop listening to it. That's the shift. That's the operator. That's the way. Comment Hunter.